We're playing Casting the Runes. The scenario is called A Reckoning Come October. It's written by Stephen Dosman. You can find him over at dosmania.itch.io. He's got a few scenarios up there. All of them are free for a number of different systems, including Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and Casting the Runes and the D-Sanction. That was it. And they're all very good, and you should go and support him somehow. He's not asking for money, so I don't know how we'd do that, but anyway. Last week, we began our adventure. It's set in October in 1902, and the Everlasting Club had been contacted by Major Creighton Walsh, DSO, whose household had been subjected to a number of ghostly happenings. The events had apparently gotten so bad that one of the servants had left without even giving notice, forcing the Major to employ another. The Major believed that the haunting is connected to the ghost of Juliet Tuesley, a young girl who hung herself at the time of Edward Confessor, and whose ghost appears near the Ferryboat Inn in Holywell every March 17th. The club dispatched a small group of its members to investigate. There was Mr. Albert Eckley, a gentleman of private means, the occultist Mr. Luther Henrys, and Mr. Maxton Matthews, the curator of the Fitzwilliam Museum. Tony doesn't know it's the Fitzwilliam Museum. I've just dropped that in because it just stretched out that sentence a little bit. That was.
To be fair, I wouldn't have known any names for anything.
Upon their arrival at Holywell House, the residence of Major Walsh and his wife Kenesha, the trio noticed a young housemaid hanging out the washing in the garden towards the rear of the property, and there had been a man in work clothes standing just behind her who appeared to perhaps be in conversation with the young lady. And as they entered the house, they also witnessed a tattered leather ball roll into the hallway from an adjacent room, and the shape of a small child disappearing through the doorway and out of sight. These events all seemed innocuous at first, but later turned out to be significant signs of a haunting, perhaps. They were introduced to the Major and Kenesha Walsh, his wife. The Major had recently returned from Africa, where he'd been serving during the Second Boer War. He'd been injured in an accident before he was due to return home, that had led him to being invalided out of the British Army, and he was due to take up a desk job in Whitehall in 5 days' time. The Major and his wife that explained some of the happenings that they and the servants had been experiencing at the house. That was like general movements and shadows in the corner of their eyes when entering rooms, and strange sounds, footsteps, and whispering voices at any time of the day or night. And when they were asked about the child in the hallway, they revealed that they didn't have a child. When asked, the Major implied that the ghostly events had begun just before he'd actually returned home from Africa. But when he said this, Mr. Eckley noticed that the Major's wife, Mrs. Walsh, her body language seemed to indicate that she thought this statement to be incorrect. And at the same time, Mr. Matthews saw a similar effect in the manservant Jenkins while he was pouring the tea. When the subject of accommodations was brought up, the Major appeared quite insistent that the investigators actually stay at the nearby Ferryboat Inn and not at the Holywell House. And Eckley had to reassure him that their intentions were purely scientific, and the Major then revealed that since his return from Africa, he'd been suffering from some terrible nightmares and had been occasionally crying out in the night, which he was quite embarrassed about and was not wanting anyone as strangers in the house because of this. The group then split up to interview the servants. Mr. Henrys spoke with Nesta Glover, the cook, and she had revealed that she'd had a few strange events that had occurred, but she'd been startled occasionally by a dark-skinned man without clothing, who had appeared in the kitchen and given her a bit of a fright before disappearing. And she'd said that she'd heard the Major screaming at night as if in terror on occasion. She also told Henry's that her employers had been expecting a child shortly before the Major had left for Africa, but had lost it through miscarriage before he departed. And that the nursery in the house that they'd prepared had been locked up since that day. He then returned to the sitting room where Mrs. Walsh was reading, and she told him that the Major had been part of Lord Kitchener's Scorched Earth campaign over in Africa. It was clear that she didn't really understand the implications of the campaign and had been subject to the usual propaganda of the period and attempted to rationalise the actions that were carried out by the army and in particular her husband during the war. Eckley and Matthews had proceeded out into the garden and encountered Maud Walters, the newly appointed housemaid. She hadn't really experienced anything. She was quite new to the household, so she hadn't really experienced any of the weird happenings that everybody else had been talking about. And when they asked, when Matthews and Eckley had asked about the man that they'd seen standing behind her when they'd arrived, she'd kind of explained that the groundsman, Hutchins, he actually wasn't due in until tomorrow. He only worked 1 day a week during that time of year, and she hadn't seen anybody in the garden earlier that day. And as Maud carried on with her duties, Eckley had pondered whether the housemaid's predecessor had actually left the Holywell house, or whether something more nefarious had occurred, and began an inspection of the grounds, looking for disturbed earth. And he found some beneath the large oak tree, but it wasn't quite the unmarked grave that he was hoping for. Anyway, while he was poking at the ground, Matthews had spotted a figure up in the first floor window, and he realised it was the same figure that they had seen standing behind the housemaid when she was hanging out the washing earlier that afternoon. They proceeded quickly into the house, meeting up with Henry's on the way, and they ascended the stairs. Using his knowledge of architecture, Matthews led them through the house, kind of navigating to the location where he figured the window had been, that he'd seen this figure. They passed through the master bedroom and found themselves standing outside the locked nursery door, because of course they did. And that is where we have gotten to. Have I missed anything?
I don't think so.
So that's where we're going to. That's where we're going to start, folks. You're standing outside the nursery door. It is locked. You've tried it, and you can hear no movement from the other side of the door. What do you want to do, folks?
I'm sure that room in there is where I saw him. Where I saw this figure that keeps turning up.
Yeah. How are we getting in? I try the door.
Yeah, it's definitely locked. The handle just rattles in your hand as you try to turn it. Or the doorknob.
Had we
And
already...
ask for a key.
I mean, that's a thing.
Have we already figured out it was the nursery?
You know that it's the room beyond this door.
Yeah.
Whether or not you know that there's actually a nursery here, because I think it was Henry's that.
I'm guessing it is.
Yeah.
They've kept the nursery as it was prepared.
Yeah.
Are we actually in?
Yeah, you're
the Major's bedroom.
Yeah, you're
aren't we?
This is it. Yeah. There's this quite ornate four-poster bed that's clearly either a kind of something that's been handed down through the family. It looks quite old, but very robust. There's like very ornate carving upon it. There's one of those screens that kind of stand up there, undressing behind and keeping one's privacy. A scuffed-looking travel chest, and yeah, that's about it. And some nightstands either side of the bed, with a few personal effects on there and photographs, things like that.
not going to let a door stop you, are you? Can I proceed to look for a diary?
You want to search this room?
Mm.
You certainly can, sir.
Is it a writing desk or maybe the chest?
Writing desk. No, there is like a dressing table with a large mirror in front of it, with a few kind of jewelry boxes and things. You believe that, a hairbrush, a very kind of ornate silver-handled hairbrush, clearly belonging to the Major's wife.
Well, look, but I probably won't find anything because he's not going to keep in plain sight of his wife, is it? I would have thought. Well, it's a diary. It's personal, isn't it?
It is, I guess.
So
a cursory search without disturbing anything, kind of
not ransack it, yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't reveal a journal of the Majors or anything like that. There's nothing that you can see like that in this room. Yeah.
Do you see a key lying out there anywhere? Have a kind of follow Henry's looking for a key.
Yes. Let's say there isn't a key that you find here, but because of the noise as you came into the house, Jenkins has come to investigate. And he appears at the doorway. He stands there stiffly in the doorway and... what is the meaning of this, he says. What are you doing in the Major's room?
To the toilet.
Jenkins. We're investigating. We're searching for evidence. It just happened to end up in this room. Now you wouldn't by chance be able to access the next room, would you?
He looks at you a little bit disapprovingly. We really shouldn't be here without permission. That room is the nursery. It has not been opened for 2 years.
Is it only that one door that goes into there?
That's correct, madam. Sir. Damn it, here we go again.
Okay.
Look, I'm old. I get confused easy, all right?
Fine.
That Jenkins, are you?
I mean, does anybody want to try and... You remember, you have lots of interpersonal skills and things that you can attempt to use on this guy if you want him to do stuff, remember?
Jenkins, if what you say is true and this has been locked, I can only imagine that there is a certain amount of ill feeling about it being opened, but we really have a good reason to be in this room. We saw a figure from outside.
No, sir. That's impossible. There's only one door.
I understand.
Exactly.
No. Jenkins...
A figure, you say?
Remember why we have been brought here. What it is that we've been brought here to do. We are specialists, and I want to use a skill which I seem to remember Albert having, which was...
It sounds like reassurance is what you're using to me.
I don't have that.
Are you sure?
I have
Are you sure?
Charm, bargain, class.
Oh, okay, yeah. You can use whatever you wish here.
I don't want to use a point, no.
Okay.
But if I can just generally rely upon Albert's general kind of charming nature and to sort of talk him round to realise that you would be saving the master and the mistress of the house a great amount of anguish if you were to just let us in very quickly. I assure you, a door open, a look, a quick check around the room, and we will be out again.
Okay. And you're using charm on this guy, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't want to spend a point, so let's just say, okay, I mean, you're obviously a gentleman, you know, and he's kind of programmed to trust gentlemen, right? So he retrieves a small set of keys from his pocket and proceeds to unlock the door. And as it swings open, its hinges creak noisily. It obviously hasn't been used in quite some time. And inside you can see there's a whole bunch of furniture, like an old cot, and various bits of furniture. They're all covered with sheets, though. And there's a thick layer of dust everywhere.
Very quickly, when Jenkins walks in the room, I look down the corridor, listen to make sure nobody's coming up, and then close the door behind them. Okay,
so you close the door to the master bedroom, absolutely. Yeah, so he's unlocked the door. He doesn't step in. He allows you to go first, whoever wants to go in first.
You?
No particular reason, don't worry.
Yeah, no, I'll probably go in first, and is there like dust on the floor or everything?
Yeah,
like
there's like a wooden, kind of a wooden floorboard with a rug kind of in the center. And there is a layer of dust over pretty much everything. It's not been opened in quite some time. And yeah, you can see this window that you saw the figure in.
Yeah,
is clearly there.
That's where I straight head to.
Yep.
Just because I also obviously I want to see to make sure it's the right window, but I want to see what actually can be seen from that window, if you get what I mean. How much the grounds can be seen.
It's quite expansive, that area of the garden. You can see you're looking straight down pretty much, more or less. You can see the oak tree, the bit of ground where Mr. Eckley was inspecting, and a large kind of swathe of the garden, including the bit where Nesta had been hanging, Maud had been hanging out the washing earlier that day. She's not out there now. There's nobody out there at all, actually. What's everyone else doing? What's Henry's doing?
Jenkins, are you a military man?
No, sir, I am not.
You've stayed here looking after the Major's affairs while he was over in the Transvaal.
That is correct. I have assisted Mrs. Walsh where required.
And where is the Major at the moment? Is he still is he in the house? Do you know what room he's in?
I believe he's in the study, sir. He doesn't tend to leave the house very often now.
You met him in the parlour, didn't we? Not the study. Or did we meet him in the...
You met him in the sitting room, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh. I might scuttle off the study then.
Okay. So you slip away while Jenkins is waiting for Matthews and Eckley to... what is Eckley up to? You've shut the bedroom door.
I listened and then realised that they hadn't attracted any attention, so I get out of the way as Henry's walks towards the door.
Yep.
What's on your mind, old boy?
I need to have another chat with the Major. I need to understand what happened when he was on campaign. Are you armed? You're carrying a gun?
I have no connection with those. If I were to have a means of defending myself, I would bring my blade, sir. I would bring my trusty blade.
So you do have a weapon?
No. Why? Are you thinking of starting?
No, I just
Oh.
just wanted to know if you were carrying a gun, if you'd got a weapon.
Henry's no. I'm afraid I am unarmed.
I'm thinking of asking him if he would be willing to allow me to hypnotize him, and me use hypnosis on him. I want to get into his head. I want to know his past. Fine
Use of your skills. Why then is the sword required? Perhaps I could find one in the house.
Just in case he's not, he doesn't want to go that way, and if he goes into a mad rage, I just wondered if you were armed. That's all.
Well, I assure you, a man of his stature, as well traveled and experienced as he is, I think I could probably take him.
Good. I'm not a physical chap, so I definitely couldn't. I just, as long as you can handle yourself and you could handle if he goes a bit berserk. But, we shouldn't have this problem. I'm sure my hypnosis will work fine.
Your skills are legendary, my friend. I will go and check with Matthews to ensure that no terror has befallen him.
And look for a journal or a diary of the majors. Might have some information.
Yes. We'll be right down.
Sure. So, Henry, as you slip away, and Matthews, as you're kind of looking around this nursery. What are you looking for? Anything in particular? I mean, it's quite noticeable. You saw a person standing up here. Definitely, the only door in is the one you've just come through, which was locked. And there's no sign of any footprints in the dust by the window. And as you stand by the window, looking out again, you're quite surprised to see a figure standing beneath the oak tree where you were just a few moments ago.
Do we seem to have switched places?
Yeah, you do, oddly.
Oh.
He's once again the man wearing work clothes, but from where you are, there's like a shadow from the tree kind of falling across him as the sun starts to get lower on the horizon, and from here you can't quite make out. There seems to be something wrong with his neck, and you're not quite sure what it is.
Like, something's noticeable on his neck, or is it like...
Yeah, like, almost like a shadow, if you like.
Okay.
That's kind of falling across him in a particular way. But it doesn't look quite right. You can't put your finger on it.
Yeah.
But where part of his face is lit up and the lower part of his body, you can't see his face. That's kind of falling in the shadow of the oak tree. But the shadow seems to fall a bit too low down compared to what you can see from the sun shining down onto the tree behind him. It doesn't look quite right. Something odd.
Is he just staring back up in the window, or is he staring?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's facing you. You can't see his face. But you get the impression that he's kind of looking up towards the window where you are. Yeah. And I think I'd like you to make a stability roll, if you will. On account of the fact that you know what this guy is. Yeah, you seem to be handling this quite well. Almost like you expected it, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And so when you look away as you hear footsteps approaching and you see Eckley kind of as he's approaching you, he's standing in the doorway. And then you look back at the tree and there's nobody there.
Eckley, we need to find out more about this man. He's... I don't know, I've just seen him outside in the grounds. Seems like... I don't know if he was showing us here or he's just wandering around.
Well, we wouldn't have found this place if it weren't for this. Are we calling it a ghost now?
Man in a hat seems fair assumption right now.
A man in a hat that no one knows is here. Jenkins, has there ever been a man in a hat here? Walking, a friend, a visitor, a neighbor, someone chasing a lost dog?
I couldn't say for certain, sir. The groundsman, perhaps? And he's like peering through the window behind you, trying to have a look. Is there somebody there?
No one as uncouth as to wear a hat indoors, yes?
Oh, certainly not, sir.
Yeah, I thought so.
How long have you been here, Jenkins?
I've served the Major and his wife for the past 7 years, madam. Sir.
Okay. And how many changes of staff have there been?
Very few. Only recently there was the change when Elizabeth left and Maud took her place. They treat us very well, if that's what you're asking.
No, it was more about if anyone else had been replaced.
No, it's only, well, the Nestor has only been with us for 2 years, of course, and Maud obviously has only joined us recently, but Elizabeth before her had been here for 3 years.
And what about change in staff? In gentleman staff? Or workman staff?
No, Mr. Hutchins has been employed on a semi-regular basis as long as the Major has had the house. He lives within the village.
Okay. How long did he have the house? I'm sure we've asked that before.
Yes, you did probably. I can't remember.
While
5 years
Matthews
ago.
is chatting, I've been just looking around to see if any of this part of the nursery could have been looks like it's been shifted. You know, if it's freer of dust or if it looks like it's been moved,
so you're you're looking on the floor and you're thinking that maybe if furniture had been moved, there would be marks in the dust or whatever that's on the floor, right? And you don't see any sign of that at all. And that's the weird thing. The only footsteps you can see now, or in the dust, are your own, Matthews or Jane.
What about the surfaces of a table, or is there a fireplace, mantelpiece?
All of that stuff looks completely undisturbed.
So there's no sign of a journal hiding away anywhere, kind of just in relatively plain view, and no sign.
No, sorry, not here.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking around, listening to the conversation. Maybe take a few steps and have a look around.
It just looks like this room has been pretty much abandoned for a number of years. You find, I mean, there are various little bits of, things for children, like maybe the odd kind of book of nursery rhymes that's kind of laying around on the, that would be read to a child at night or something, when they're a little older, or a rattle, that kind of stuff. And the crib the mattress is gone. It's not in there. It's just a sheet thrown over the crib.
I grab the sheet.
Okay.
And just sort of peel it back a little bit to see what's in there. Just out of interest, like I do casually, just kind of. Yeah,
sure. There's a cloud of dust as you kind of shake this or lift this sheet up. Basic crib. As I say, there's no mattress in there. That seems to have been removed at a previous time. But it's just a wooden crib. Kind of dusty. Hasn't been used in quite some time.
Oh.
Nothing. Yeah.
Well, it seems like our mysterious hat-wearing gentleman is not hiding in the crib.
No.
Perhaps we should go and check on Henry's. He was asking me, Jenkins, if there were any swords in the house.
So let's check on Henry's. Henry's, you make your way down the stairs. There is a study that you probably take a bit of time checking a few rooms or whatever to find it. You kind of make your way through the parlor. That's kind of deserted. There's nobody in there at all. Mrs. Walsh was in the sitting room you last met her, and then you finally find the study towards the back of the house. And you kind of open the door. You can see that the Major he's sat at his desk. There is a lit pipe kind of just resting on an ashtray, if you like, or whatever it is they're using. Smoke is kind of curling up from it towards the ceiling, and he's just kind of sat there. Seems to be sitting back. His eyes are closed, and he's contemplating something, it seems. And so he kind of is kind of a little bit startled as you enter the room.
May I join you?
Certainly, I should be working anyway. Smoke?
I'll get a pipe out.
Yeah.
I'm a pipe smoker, of course.
Yeah. So is he.
So, is there a seat near him I can sit down?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of kind of seats that are scattered around this room. He's got this one there's obviously this writing desk that he's sat behind. He stands up and makes his way across the room. There's a window that kind of looks out onto the gardens from there, and he kind of stands in front of that with his pipe in his mouth for a moment.
Doesn't happen to be a journal on the writing desk, does there?
There are some books on the desk. You probably recognise one of them as kind of like an accounts book or something along those lines. I suppose you think me quite mad, don't you?
No, not at all. I want to ask you if you would allow me to help you with your night terrors.
He turns around, silhouetted against the window. And how would you do that, pray tell?
Do you know anything about hypnosis?
I've heard of mesmer, if that's what you're saying.
Have you heard of Freud? Sigmund Freud? Have you heard?
No, sir.
It's one of his teachings. I can help you with your night terrors if you allow me to hypnotize you. Won't harm you. It just might be able to help you sleep better and find out what's going on, what's causing you, and the distress to your partner. And can
He
I?
turns. Sorry, carry on.
I'll use reassurance. I've got 1
Yeah.
point left, so I'll
Okay.
burn that.
Okay.
And I'll use a point of class.
Wait, you won't need to do both. I mean, you kind of he kind of turns his back before you spend that point. He kind of turns his back to you, looking out of the window again, puts his pipe between his teeth, and he's silent for a moment. It's just a passing thing, you know. I'm sure a change of scene, perhaps, would help. Perhaps when I go to London, I'm sure everything will be fine.
I don't think it will. I think something's followed you back from Africa.
He looks round at you. What are you saying?
Well, you asked us here to help you, and I want to help you. I want to help your wife. Something's going on, and just think that I can see something to do with you is the root of the problem, and I want to get to the root of the problem for you all.
I should like to discuss this with my wife, if you don't mind.
Oh, certainly, yeah. I can't force you. You would have to accept, willingly accept. Just, it would take 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, you can sense his reluctance. You're not sure if it's because he doesn't necessarily believe in any of this stuff, but
what
but he.
what have you to lose? You can carry on as you are, and I don't think it's going to get any better. But I can try and help you.
If you'll excuse me, I'd like to speak to my wife.
Certainly.
And he leaves the room with a very thoughtful look upon his face. And perhaps that's when Maxton and Albert turn up, and you kind of see the Major. He's opening the study door and walking out into the hallway. Yeah, he's alone. He's got this pipe clenched between his teeth. There's, kind of a thoughtful look upon his face. He's like, a certain. He seems unsure as you approach, and he barely notices you actually. And Jenkins has followed you down too. And he kind of absent-mindedly looks at Jenkins. Have you shown our guests their rooms for the evening? Make sure that you do. And Jenkins, certainly, though. And you see the Major kind of disappear into the sitting room where you had taken tea earlier.
Has Jenkins left the room, or is he still with us?
Jenkins is in the hallway with Matthews. In fact, yeah, he will go and follow the Major to see if the Major requires anything. So you're standing outside in the hallway. The doorway to the study the door is open, and perhaps you can see Henry's sat in a chair in there, actually, smoking a pie, because he's cool.
Yeah, so we'll go into the study.
Yep.
So he seemed to be off, all quizzical.
I'm trying to get him to agree to allow me to hypnotize him. It's going to go and speak to his wife. while he's gone, does everybody want to have a quick look around for a journal?
Yes. You seem quite fascinated by this old chap.
Just if my hypnosis doesn't work, if he's written stuff down in his journal, what he's up to, that might be an easier way of finding out. Not fantastic at hypnotizing people.
This
know the basics, but a journal would be ideal for information. And he might come back and say he doesn't want to do it as well. So
this is his sanctum. I don't want to ruffle his nest too much, but if I start over here, perhaps, then just casually move a few books around and see if anything strikes my attention.
It's like there are shelves kind of lined with various different books. A lot of them to do with kind of military history and tactics and things like that. The usual stuff like about Napoleon and whatever. But it seems he has a fascination with a war game as well. It was quite popular at the time. And there are various kind of books about tactics and stuff like that for this particular game. Is obviously quite an ardent fan of this thing. But there's no journal. Strange as it seems, and the three of you, as you're kind of looking around these various different places, you find on the desk there's like a household accounting book, and maybe an address book with like business contacts and things like that in there, perhaps, and people in London that he'll be associating with. But no, there's no journal here, which, I mean, it does strike you as a little bit odd, perhaps.
Is there any skill that could be used to look at the accounts?
Counting.
Is that a skill in this?
There is I believe there's a skill called bookkeeping. It might be called in casting the runes. As you're kind of flicking, have you got it? Have you got bookkeeping? Okay. So I mean, it just looks like a standard set of household accounts. It does seem like the major has been quite prudent with his money. He doesn't seem to be in debt or anything like that. If everything seems above board. Yeah, quite mundane set of books, really. Unfortunately, it's not very exciting. I mean, bookkeeping's not exciting anyway, right?
Could have destroyed his journal if he's that ashamed of what he's done.
How did you find out about the journal again?
His wife mentioned in passing that I should look at his diary. I can't remember her exact phrase what she used, but she mentioned his journal or his diary.
If you were to perform your hypnosis, perhaps he would be more minded to do it with his wife present. How about we... No.
That might not be too good if he spills information that he wouldn't want her to hear.
I could take her for some fresh air.
You old smoothie, you.
I could ask her if she would show me the herbaceous borders.
Definitely think
that's definitely a euphemism.
She might have more information. So yeah, she's definitely worth talking to.
Excellent.
Sure. Okay. So what's the plan? And does Matthews want to add anything to this, or are you just going to go along with these two crazy gentlemen?
Well, I think I'm used to the crazy at the minute, but I think for me, I would probably want to stay if the hypnosis is going to go on, to see how that pans out.
Yeah.
Hypnotize everybody.
Yeah, I mean, how would Henry's be? I mean, does Henry's need like just him and the Major to be in the room, or is he okay to have other people in there? How's that
If
work?
the Major's okay with that, but I don't know. He won't be okay with that. I think you are supposed to do it one-on-one, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the details personally, but
I might hypnotize everybody.
I mean,
I'm pretty
yeah,
British.
going to be a lot of people doing impressions of chickens in a few minutes.
Got psychoanalysis as well as a skill, so that helps people with psychological problems.
It does, and if you use hypnosis, you actually get bonus points to psychoanalysis.
I'll try and help him if I want to.
If you want to.
If he's a bad man, I'll be able to help him.
Yeah. I mean, of course he's not a bad man. He's a major in the British Army, or he was.
It was.
How can he be a bad man? He's doing the bidding of the Queen, and the King now.
So, if he's agreeable to letting people watch, I would be, but you see what it says. His wife might agree to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might require a point spend or something, or something along those lines, maybe. But a few moments later, I think maybe the Major and his wife both enter the room. And he looks at you, Henry. So he says, "You say that you could help with the nightmares?"
I will try my best.
Perhaps you could explain to me how this works.
I'll get out my silver pocket watch.
Okay.
And, I'll just tell him the basics of what hypnotizing somebody, what it is.
Yep.
It's quite straightforward, and I just regress you to the past, into past memories, and if these are the things that are causing you problems, we can resolve to fix these issues.
Sure. And yeah, he looks very uncomfortable about the whole regression thing. He's certainly, when you're talking about this, he kind of says that, you know, he perhaps doesn't necessarily want people there.
I totally understand. Can just do it, me and you.
And Eckley is going to attempt to take Mrs. Walsh out into the garden.
Mrs. Walsh, perhaps you would accompany me. I found a strange disturbance under one of the trees. I'd hoped that you would be able to explain it to me. Quite fascinating. In your garden. And maybe you could show me some more of the fine trees and the church on the other side as well. Please regale me with some stories. I assure you, Henry's is an expert at this. He has studied for many years since the emergence of Freud's techniques. It's fantastic.
You willing to spend a point of charm here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Read a book and everything.
Yeah. I'm going to spend a point of charm.
Cool.
I just need to spend the point. I don't need to roll.
Wait, you click on it and just
There
do
we go, that's it.
point spend. That's how it works. So I mean, she looks across at the Major, who he kind of looks back at her and he just kind of nods, and she says, "Oh, certainly, Mr. Eckley." And she takes your arm and you both stroll out of the door. Matthews.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to do during this time?
Well, obviously having to leave the room, I think at this point.
You could come back in the room when I've started.
I'm a gentleman. I think I'm gonna find Jenkins, for him to show us show me the rooms.
Okay.
So I want to see where the rooms are in relation to some of the stuff we've been told.
Yep. No, that's fine. Yeah, no problem. And so, Henry's, you kind of draw the curtains in the room. And you kind of, does the major have to be kind of laying down on a chaise longue type thing for this kind of thing to occur? Maybe.
Or maybe just seated in front of me, just sat across from each other.
Yeah. Okay. And you begin the process of hypnotizing this gentleman.
It's on the watch. A countdown. You're mine now.
And so he kind of goes along with this. He seems quite nervous. Obviously, he's never experienced this before. He doesn't really know what's going on. But he allows you to kind of start this process. It's quite frustrating at first because he's kind of asking questions as you're trying to do some of these things. He's kind of asking, so what happens now, and this kind of thing, and you kind of just having to gently remind him, no, you just have to relax, just. And you can make your hypnotism roll if you so desire.
Where are we? This is where I find out I ain't got it. Oh, so I've got 6 points in it.
Yeah. How many are you going to spend for this? That's the.
I need 4 for a success.
Well, normally it's 4. For reasons unknown to you, the number is higher.
I'll burn it all.
Well, all 6? Holy shit.
Oh, all of it. I'll kill him.
I mean, okay. I mean, you do what you want to do. I think there's a limit to spend, actually, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, so I don't care. Do it.
3, 4. Yeah, I'm going to put 100% effort into this. I want to get into his brain.
All right.
So, I'm going to take him back to his accident.
Okay.
I want to know what he was feeling.
Sure. Now, are you going? I mean, you're spending all your points. I mean, you're going to make this roll regardless, aren't you? You're going to pass if you do this, right? So.
Well, I'm wanting to take him back because that's like the nearest event before he came back to England. But then I want to take him back further because I want to know what war crimes he got up to. So,
what?
The first bit is just I want to know about the accident. Was he pushed? Did he jump? Was it an accident? I want to know how he was feeling at the time. Was he scared?
Sure.
Was he being followed?
Okay. Well, I tell you what. You click on that. You make the roll and add however many points you want to roll, just so it removes them from your sheet.
I'll half it then, so I'll do 3 points.
Okay.
Should be going fail now. So 3. I think I spent 3 on another roll, didn't I? And I failed, so.
No, yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. Cool.
Type of seizure.
Okay. So you spend a bit of time going back and hypnotizing the major, and we will come back to this in because I like that anticipation.
Right.
And Eckley, you walk out into the gardens. The sun has dropped quite low now. It's starting to get dark. Maybe a few stars are starting to appear in the sky above you. It's going to be quite a nice, pleasant evening, and the sky is kind of like a deep blue. The orange sunset is kind of blazing across from the west. And yes, and she shivers kind of a little as it's starting to get a little bit cooler out here.
Oh. I'm sure your husband is fine. I'll nip back in get you a shawl. But where would I find that? Just at the door, yes? And I just quickly take a few steps back into the lobby and grab something that looks like it might be warm and
Yeah. That
put it
doesn't
over
take.
her shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe she was smart enough to bring one. Who knows? So you kind of step out into the garden, and you're kind of looking across at the. There's got this rather ornate-looking rose bush that's obviously somebody spent a bit of time kind of pruning and looking after it. It's looking, the kind of the final few roses perhaps of the year are kind of quite glorious on it at the moment.
Your garden is exemplary.
Why, thank you. Hutchins is he's a good man from the village. Your friend, Hypnosis, I don't really understand.
Yes, I haven't myself had the opportunity to delve into such matters, but the art of psychoanalysis is absolutely fascinating. Tell me, are you well read?
I have had the opportunity to read a number of worthy texts, but sadly psychoanalysis is not a subject. It's a little too dry for me.
It's a fascinating form of discussion and talking. I suspect that your husband will be at ease and relaxed. Perhaps more relaxed than he's been for some time. He wasn't the same when he came back, was he? From the war.
You're being charming here, aren't you? I can tell. No, he wasn't. He stopped doing all the things that he would normally do. He's been very distracted, and obviously the nightmares have not helped. There's been a tension to him. I thought perhaps it was his job, the new job he was going to be taking up. It's a very responsible job that he has in Whitehall, but no.
Do you have any remembrance of the words that he used when he was shouting? He seemed quite affronted by this. It must be a stress for you.
It was always. He would scream, sometimes incomprehensibly. It was as if there was something there that he was terrified of. It was quite weird. He sleepwalked sometimes. One night I found him soaked through, covered in mud. He'd been out in the garden at night. He caught a terrible chill. It was just fear most of the time. I don't know. I don't understand it. But he stopped doing all the usual things he would normally do. His morning walks, he stopped writing in his journal. He's not done that for days.
Where is his journal? Does he keep it? Does he keep it daily?
He used to write in it religiously, but since his return, I don't know if I've ever seen him write in it once.
I don't like to pry, but we are here to investigate the goings-on in your house and return it to a state of normality. Part of that is to heal your husband, to make him return back to what he was, or at least accept what has happened.
You don't think the house is haunted?
We are working on a number of different leads, each one like an interwoven string of possibility. One such is being explored just now with Henry's and your husband. Another, perhaps, is in the past. Or perhaps they are one and the same and we are just approaching from either end. But it would be of great benefit if we could at least peruse. I do not wish to pry, to make trivial such personal. You understand that. but merely if there was a clue, perhaps a drawing or a picture or a name or something that we could help to understand where your husband has come from, what he's been through.
He would have kept the journal in his study. That's where he wrote. But I assume that's where it is. As I say, I've not seen him write in it. I've not seen him take his walk. I've not seen him. He used to polish his boots religiously every morning, and he's something has changed him.
Yes. Yes. What about Elspeth? Where did she fit in? She seems to have a trouble.
You mean Lisbeth, the maid?
Yes. Did you see her to the train yourself?
I did not, but Jenkins, he took her in the car.
Come, walk, please, walk with me. Show me around. This oak tree on the corner there.
Okay. Yeah, you lead her over to the oak tree. I'm just going to jump to Matthews quickly.
Yes.
So you walk, you're led up the stairs by Jenkins. He takes you up onto the first floor. There's a kind of a narrow passageway that leads down towards the back of the house. And you know that he'd mentioned that one of the rooms was considerably smaller than the others. And you're not entirely surprised when he opens the door and says, I thought this room would be suitable for you, sir. And you can see your luggage is already kind of sat there on the floor. It's a smaller room. There's like a single bed in here. Quite, it's not particularly lavish. It's certainly not a patch on the master bedroom that you saw that the Major had been living in. Like a single bed, a very plain sheet and blanket and that over the top of it. There's like a wardrobe that's considering the rest of the house, the furniture is quite elaborate. This is very plain. And knowing what you do know about these kind of things, it's not worth any money. It's quite a cheap piece. And there's a small kind of writing desk, which is probably antique. But it is quite, it's quite a claustrophobic little room. Would that be all, sir?
Well, actually, no, I just wanted to ask you maybe a couple of things about the house and just generally what's been going on.
Very well, sir. The Major has asked me to afford you every... I can't think of the word. Anyway. Thing.
So is this the floor? This is the floor where all the staff stay on?
No, sir. That is upstairs.
Oh, you're upstairs, right? Oh, yeah. So you're.
There's like an attic kind of floor, where all the servants are.
Okay. So, when you've said you've heard things around the house, has it always been on the second floor or on the first floor, or is it both?
As I said, I experienced a rather odd event in my own room upstairs. But it doesn't matter which floor. One can enter a room and feel that something is watching you, or you see a movement out of the corner of one's eye. It's all very, very odd.
Indeed.
Sometimes a cold draft, or sometimes a
dry, hot breeze.
Okay. So how many? You've told us that you've seen the man in the hat before.
I've seen a shadow. Yes.
Which, yes. Was that the only time you'd seen him?
The only time I've seen anything directly, yes.
Okay. And anything? Has anybody else told you if they've seen him?
Elizabeth swears she saw a small boy or child,
Yes.
very thin, but with a distended belly.
Okay.
I believe Nesta has spoken of a dark-skinned gentleman without apparel who has frightened her on more than one occasion in the kitchen.
And Maud?
Maud has, well, she's very new here and she says she has not witnessed anything herself.
Do you believe that to be true?
Perhaps there are sometimes the things you see out of the corner of your eye, they may seem like tricks of the imagination. Were it not for any of the other events that I've witnessed, I would probably assume the same.
Very strange occurrences.
Yes, would that be all, sir?
Yes. I think for now.
And he kind of bows very formally and leaves you alone in this room. There's a small window that kind of looks out across the gardens. You can... It's probably towards the back of the house, so you kind of see like the hedge, quite a tall hedge, and various number of bushes and trees. You're probably catching the last few rays of the sun. That's kind of it's kind of appearing over the hedge, and it kind of this orange reddish glow. And then you hear a thud. And a ball rolls past your open doorway across the landing. And that's where we're going to take a break. Okay, so let's go to Henry's. Henry's, you have used your ability of mesmerism, and you've lulled the Major into a trance. It was more difficult than you expected. Actually, it was as if he wasn't entirely happy with the idea, maybe. You've encountered this before with people that don't necessarily understand what hypnotism is. It's still a relatively new science, isn't it? So you're not entirely surprised by that, but it was kind of trickier than you expected. But you've lulled him into this state, and you are taking him back to where he is. His last few days in Africa, or last few weeks in Africa, where his regiment has been moved, or at least a number of officers and men, 500 in total, have been moved to the one of the ports there, and he's making arrangements for them to be shipped back. He's recently been promoted to major. He was a captain before this. But his enthusiasm, his drive has gained him promotion, and he's very proud of this. He's very proud of this fact. Serving the country in this way is a point of pride for him, and you can tell that. And then he describes being a street on a clear, sunny day. Dust is being thrown up from various carts as they're trundling through the streets. And he's checking his pocket watch and looking at the time, and his watch says it's 12:05, and his planning and his plans have all gone very well. And he steps out into the road, and he hears the cry, but it's too late. And there's a small cart. It's being pulled by a single horse. And although the driver has shouted the warning and has managed to kind of steer the horse out of his way, it kind of catches him, the horse, and knocks him to the floor. And then he describes this feeling of pain that he has as he is struck by the cart that's travelling behind. And although the cart is relatively lightly laden, it's still... He hears the crack on the upper part of his leg, his thigh bone. And that's it, that he can't remember too much else after that. After that moment, he just remembers feeling this sudden pain and him hitting the floor very hard. And then he kind of wakes up in a kind of a hospital tent sometime later. And he's being told the news that his leg has been broken in 3 different places. He's been told that he can only walk now. He'll need a cane, potentially. Particularly if he's doing any distance walking. And he's been told that effectively he's no real use to the army at that point.
Not what I wanted to hear.
Oh.
Not what I was expecting.
Oh, okay.
So, now I want to take him back further.
Okay.
No, his wife mentioned he was in the relief of the city of Kimberley, which was a British city, and he
That's right.
helped
Yeah.
relieve it.
Yeah. He was part of the Essex Regiment, who took part in the relief of that city. It had been under siege for several months.
So I want to go next posting. After that happened, where did he go? Was he involved in any holding camps with the Lords?
He was. Yeah, he was. I mean, he describes it as Potch. That's where he was.
The area.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the
Yeah, yeah. He calls it Potch. And although the actual name escapes me, and I probably couldn't pronounce it if I did know what it was. You would probably recognise it with the abilities that you have. I think you have anthropology and things like that, which would probably help in this instance. And you know that there was an internment camp there. Well, there was a concentration camp there, and that he was sent out with a company and that they would be hunting for any boar gorillas. And of course, when Kitchener's scorched earth policy kind of came through, he would have been involved in, and he was involved in the routine destruction of Zulu villages and boar farms. There were a lot of boar farms, and they were. I mean,
to burn them to the ground.
That they would burn them to the ground, and that the inhabitants of these places would be interred in these concentration camps. The idea being that they would try to force any of the boar gorillas to give up.
So the majority of the people interned were women and children. So the men were out fighting. It was to get the men to surrender.
Effectively, yeah.
And a lot of African natives also were interned.
That's right.
They were killed as well.
Yeah.
Died.
And the conditions in the camp, in these various camps, were terrible. There was starvation and disease was rife amongst the inhabitants. And I think what disturbs you most is that the Major is the inhabitants. It's like he sees that they get what they deserve, or they got what they deserved.
Oh, he's not getting any sympathy for me. So I want to try and get to. Must have some type of conscience for these night terrors. What is he? Why he's got that mindset? Why is he? Why would he be bothered? Why is he having night terrors? Because he doesn't. He's not ashamed, is he?
No, he doesn't seem to be. No.
Oh, that stumped me.
I'm gonna just jump across to Albert Eckley, who is currently strolling the garden with Mrs. Walsh. So the night's starting to draw in. More stars are coming out. You can see the moon starting to appear and shine through some of the trees surrounding the property. You've kind of found yourselves. You've led effectively to the oak tree. That was the intention, wasn't it, Albert?
Yes, it's getting late. Mrs. Walsh, tell me, do you keep track of your garden? Are you proud of it?
I particularly in the summer months, I do enjoy sitting out and having tea. Yes.
I found a disturbance, but nothing was planted, and it was very close to the tree. It's very shady there this time of year. Nothing would grow. I wondered if you had anything taken out. Just here.
Yeah, so you lead her over to the garden, and she looks down at this patch of earth that you kind of pointed out. I don't know. Perhaps Hutchins has done some work here.
A shrub, perhaps. Something.
Well, I see nothing planted.
Yes. I don't mean to pry, but where is your gardener's shed?
Yeah, she'll point to an area out towards the back of the property, kind of hidden away amongst some low hedges. There's an acre of land here. It's quite large.
He's not due in until later in the week, yes?
Tomorrow, I believe.
Is this shed open? I would be quite interested to see if I was able to take a little sample of some of this earth, just for our science.
And you think it's connected to the haunting in some way? She asks quite innocently.
Well, as you know, you have a church very close, and you also have a ghost in the town very close. I wish to use the measure of this ground to determine which side of either the ghost or the church. Is it hallowed ground or is it closer to the haunted ground? It is an interesting position, yes?
Oh. That all sounds very scientific, Mr. Eckley. Certainly. She leads you across the garden to their shed where the gardener is keeping these tools, and you find a shovel.
I will walk you back to the house. I do not wish to get dirt upon your fine shoes, your fine feet, ma'am. Yes, please. I'll leave this here, but I'll walk you back. It's getting dark and cold. I wouldn't want you to catch a chill. It has been an absolute pleasure in your company. I hope, in some way, selfishly, of course, that, well, maybe we aren't successful in solving this particular problem and conundrum, and I might spend another night in your pleasure company.
And yet, she's quite flattered by that, I think. This charming young man that is that seems to be being very, very, very pleasant to her. And yeah, she's quite flattered, and she's you see, she gets a bit flushed. But then there's something about her that maybe that she's kind of a little bit vain as well, maybe, and is kind of milking that a little bit. And you show her back to the house, and perhaps yes, perhaps we can do the same thing tomorrow.
I'd like that very much.
And she goes into the house. You take her back in, and she goes back to the sitting room. By this point, the smell of cooking is kind of wafting through the house, and you can smell that Nesta has been busy at work.
I like it back out quick time.
And get the shovel.
Get the shovel and go to where that squirrel was buried, where we got distracted previously, where
certainly. And Matthews, this ball, this tattered leather ball, once again it rolls across the doorway in this room where you're standing. Jenkins has only just left, and you see this ball just kind of roll past the doorway. It's very slight noise as it does so.
I'm gonna do the not clever thing and go and have a look.
Okay. And as you kind of step towards the door, you are startled suddenly by a small figure. It's a child. Very, very thin, almost skeletal. It has what hair remains is kind of blonde, kind of a bit filthy and lank. Its belly is distended, and it kind of looks up at you, and you just hear it say, "Moda? Moda." And then it steps past the doorway following the ball, and as it moves, it's like every movement is an effort. And it's gone past the doorway. I'll let you know roll stability if you don't mind.
Oh my god.
Where we at? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's almost like you're expecting this.
It talks, it's not a ghost, that's what it is.
That's probably what it spoke. And maybe that was the thing, is that you're actually thinking about the words that it was saying to you.
Yeah.
And then it kind of steps away from the doorway, following the ball. It wasn't looking at you. It was just walking down the corridor, and he kind of said those words and then carried on after the ball. But every step seemed to be an effort, like it was almost painful. It was struggling to walk. But then you're not really surprised. Its limbs were almost skeletal, and it did not look very well at all. And you step out of the doorway, and you look down the corridor, and it's empty. There's nobody there.
Okay. But that music's just creepy. Oh god, I don't even know. Like, how far down the hallway am I? Like, how much room is to the side that it came from?
I mean, it's like a passageway that's leading towards the front of the house. There's like a landing.
Yeah.
Which is quite a large landing, which has the master bedroom and a couple of other bedrooms off it. And then there's like this narrow passageway towards the back of the house. And that's kind of where you are. And there's also the stairs that lead up to the attic room down that way as well. So it is in like so it's quite a narrow corridor, kind of wood panelled again. And it's quite dimly lit.
Okay. I think I'm gonna go the way the child came from.
Okay, yeah. So let's say it's back towards the front of the house. And so you kind of, you step out of the corridor onto the landing. There's no sign of anyone. You know that Jenkins had disappeared off down the stairs just a few moments ago. But you can't hear him anymore. He's obviously reached the bottom of the stairs and gone wherever he was going.
Yeah.
It's just you alone on this landing.
Trying to chase a child that may or may not be a ghost.
Oh, maybe. I mean, yeah. I don't know if there's any doubt in your mind, really.
I'm a skeptic at heart.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Henry's. Let's jump back to you for a moment. What is it you're wanting to do with the Major now? I mean, he's kind of talked about. Oh, you want to strangle him? Okay.
Not yet. Can I want him to tell me about what he remembers when he's having the night terrors?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Did he see things? People talking to him?
Yeah. So he says.
Do you need me to spend any more points?
No. You've made the roll. You've made the rule. You made the roll. So no, I think we're okay here at the moment. This isn't a psychoanalysis thing. This is just like a hypnotic regression thing, I think. So he
There's a woman, he says. There's a woman, she stands at the edge of the bed. She has long, dark hair. It's unkempt. She looks deathly thin. Almost like a skeleton, I suppose. She reaches out to me and she says one word. She says, "Hukum." And then I'm awake and I'm screaming.
What was the word? Hokum.
Hukum, yeah.
Does that mean anything to him? Does it mean anything to me?
You got anthropology, right?
Probably not.
Not. Okay.
Don't know. I will check.
I mean, it sounds... It sounds like an Afrikaans word to you.
If you didn't put any points in, it's not on your character sheet, is it? Or is it?
Oh, no, it's not you that's got it, no. Eckley has it, but you don't.
God, I'm rubbish. Wouldn't help.
Yeah. So no, it
being
means
able to
nothing to you.
speak German.
I mean, it almost sounds like, I mean, I suppose when they say it, it's almost like, how come, is what you're kind of hearing, maybe. How come? That's kind of what you probably interpret it as.
Does he know what it means? What does that word mean to you? From scaring you shitless.
Yeah. It means why.
I was going to say why. Why did you do this? Why have you done this to us? Then I'm going to
I recognize her.
the camp.
A farm.
Did you take her life? Did you take her to the camp?
God, no. 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 It was a farm. Outside Potch. There were boars, there were... I ordered them to leave the farm, and the man would not see sense. Of course, I shot him in the throat. The men, they were... well... They had to see that there were... I had to goad them into it, you know. They didn't seem to mind burning down the villages of the Zulus, but when it came to the Boers, they were reluctant. I had to practically tell them. I had to show them. I had to tell them what to do with the wife.
I think I don't need to know anymore, and I'm going to speak to him in German.
Okay.
I had family that fought in the war. And I curse you. God may forgive you. I curse you. Not in hell. I'll bring him out of the notice.
Okay. And he blinks rapidly.
I think everything's going to be okay.
Buckley, you are digging. You get about 6 inches down. It's not far. When the shovel brings up something, it looks like a small piece of tattered cloth. And when you unwrap the cloth, inside you find a key. It kind of glints in the moonlight.
Huh.
It doesn't look old, like a particularly old key. It's kind of like just a brass key, and
I rack my brains for a bit. Have I seen a locked room, or does it fit a chest or something I've seen in the office, or have I? Yeah, I'm trying to think about all the places I've been through in the house and just trying to hone in on something, on a memory.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that. But there was a chest in the Major's bedroom. A scuffed leather travel chest.
I wrap it up, put it in my inside pocket.
No,
in fact, I don't wrap it up because it's been in the mank. I take it out of its wrapping. I put the fold back in the ground and it just loosely sticks over.
Yeah, it's kind of fairly clean, the key. It's not like it's old and rusted. It's not like it's been there a long time.
I put the key in my pocket and I make my way to the back door of the house.
Yeah. And you let yourself through. You kind of hear a female scream as you kind of come in. In fact, you all hear that. It seems to be coming from Henry's would know. It's coming from like the kitchen area towards the back of the property.
Oh, she's burnt me carrots.
You're nearest, by the way, Eckley's nearest. You're nearest to that part of the house.
I step past the entrance to the study and I look in to see what Henry's is up to very quickly as I walk past, and I just say, "I'll go and see what's happened."
Yeah, I mean, how's Henry's looking when?
I've done now. We're done, and then I'll follow you in the direction of the scream.
I fear there's been another sighting. Is the major's still there, isn't he? Sat down, kind of.
Yeah. He's just kind of sat down. And he's kind of blinking. He's not really sure, I suppose, what's happened.
Walk through the hall and then stride very, very purposefully.
And you bump into Jenkins, who's obviously heard the scream too. Matthews, you hear it even though you're upstairs. Oh, he may be muted.
Yeah, I'll carry on down the landing and downstairs.
Okay, you kind of rush down the stairs and then round to the back of the house. And as Eckley, you get there first, and you kind of push open the door to the kitchen, and there's like a sudden dry, hot breeze that kind of ruffles your hair almost as you enter, and then clouds of steam, as you would expect.
Henry's
you can
going
see
to be happy if his broccoli is overdone.
Nestor is sat on the floor, and there's like a large kind of jar or urn, if you like, and that's kind of fallen down beside her, and there seems to be a lot of flour kind of smeared out across the floor, kind of splayed out, obviously fallen from this jar has fallen and broken, and flour is
My
been
dear,
thrown across the kitchen.
what's happened? I rush over to her.
Yeah, okay. A man, sir. It was the black man, sir. He gave me such a fright. He had a stick in his hand. He was a stick, and he used it. He wrote a word in the flour, sir. Look, he wrote in the flour, sir.
I look to where she's pointing.
Okay. Anybody else doing anything? By this time, Matthews, you've arrived. Jenkins is there. He's kind of helping her to her feet and asking her if she's okay. Henry's has arrived also. And everybody's kind of peering in through the doorway. You can hear this woman. She's quite hysterical almost.
Someone get her a cup of tea.
And everybody, basically from the household, is kind of gathering at the doorway into the kitchen.
I'm trying to read here.
Is the word hokum by any chance?
Okay, so you look down. You look down at the flower that she's pointing at, Eckley, and it just looks like spilt flour. There's nothing there.
I see nothing, my dear. It's not there. Do you still see it? Excuse me.
No.
Do you still see it?
Well, it can't be indigestion, sir. We've not eaten yet.
The anticipation. It's killing me.
It was he wrote a word with the stick, sir. It was a long stick with a metal point, and he wrote a word into the flour.
Tell me, what was the word?
It wasn't anything I recognised. It had a U and a K and a L and a W and an A, sir. I think that's what it said.
I see. Doesn't make any sense to me. Henry's? Matthews? An H, a W, an O, an A, and an L?
That's exactly what it said. No, it was a U. I got it wrong as well. A U, a K, a U, and an F, and an A. Akufa. I don't know. He scratched it out into the flour, sir. And then he was gone.
Where? Oh, he's gone. He wasn't wearing a hat, was he?
No, sir, he wasn't wearing... He was wearing just like a loincloth.
Is this the naked gentleman that you've seen before?
Yes, sir. She's kind of... Jenkins has helped her to her feet, and she's kind of brushing herself down, and you can see she's shaking. He gave me such a fright, sir.
Oh, you are fine. Do not fuss overly. If you concentrate, it'll seem like a distant dream.
And he gave me such a fright. He had a pointy stick, and I was so startled I dropped the flour, and then he drew in the flour, sir. He drew that word.
Well, think about what you were making with the flour rather than the word. You have duties to attend to. You must try to concentrate and put it behind you.
I pick her up off the floor, or try and help her off the floor.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry. The ghost won't harm you. The spirits aren't here to harm you.
What? No, sir,
They're here for your master. Your master is a bad man.
What are you saying? You hear the major from behind. What are you talking about? You, sir.
You got your sword. I know what you've done, Brighton.
I reach into my pocket and,
Yeah.
and I take out a key. And I watch his face as I lift it out.
Okay, and he looks at it, and there's a look of confusion crosses his face.
Now,
That's the key to my campaign chest.
yes.
What are you doing with it?
Why did you leave it in the garden?
I'd left it on the nightstand. What are you talking
Exact-
about?
Now, would you entertain us? Please, sir, I must insist. Your room, this chest. You will allow us to open it with this key that I have dug out of the garden.
The garden? No, I left it on the nightstand. That's where it's always been. What are you talking about?
And I think I've suitably deflected the situation from having to fight my way out of it.
Nice.
And I take a step forward. One of the many threads that we are following is that you are being possessed and being led to do things that may not be yours. At night, you're screaming. Your movement.
Poppycock, it's just nightmares. It's nothing.
We have been brought here to investigate. You understand that we do not think in the same realms that you do. You are a man of military means. We deal with the unusual, the peculiar, the outlandish, humorous. I'm not talking about bones, but please, humor us.
It's the key to my campaign chest, that's all. It's nothing.
You won't mind us having a look in your campaign chest? Who would have buried it
Nothing.
outside if...
You can see now that he's starting to look very confused. I mean, he was quite a composed gent before, and you can see he's starting to kind of
Maybe you
might lose it somewhat.
walked and buried the key.
This sounds preposterous. I don't see why. How?
Let us walk, and we will... Please, lead us to this chest. Sir, I insist. You must.
Is the wife here?
Yeah, she has appeared, and she's kind of standing behind. She's not said very much. She's remained quiet, standing behind the major. She's kind of a hand on his arm, and she's kind of maybe she's looking. She might be looking daggers a little bit at Henry's, potentially.
But other than that, she doesn't seem as phased.
No, I think phased would be. She's definitely phased.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, any sort of reaction from her.
No, she's kind of standing back a little bit from that. Like I say, she's it's almost like she's deferring to her husband a little bit. She's confused. She's not quite sure where this is going, and to be honest, the major's looking pretty much the same way.
I am going to use athletics.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and basically get past, and I'm going to say, if you cannot be capable of making your decision quickly, then allow me to make it for you, sir. And I'll brush past him.
Okay. He doesn't stop you. He seems bewildered and confused by what's going on, and angry. incredibly angry at what Henry's has just said. Henry's, what are you doing at this moment in time? You've helped Nesta to her feet, and she's you've kind of Eckley has basically said to get on with your duties almost, and she's about to do that. You can see her hands are shaking wildly as she's attempting to carry on making dinner for you all. Yeah. So,
Point after Albert, and I'll. Shall we? Shall we follow him?
and the Major, he says nothing, but he turns. You walk straight past him, and he turns to follow you, as does his wife. And Jenkins is seeing that Nesta and making sure she's okay. Matthews, what are you doing?
Before I follow the others, I just want to have a quick look around of where she said he appeared, because like in the last time he said that they didn't mention anything about a stick or a spear.
No.
Or whatever. So I just want to have a look around, see this.
Sure. So yeah, you kind of hang around in the kitchen for a minute while Jenkins seems to be trying to compose the cook, and trying to he's trying very calming, this very calming manner that he has. He's trying to calm her down, and as she trying to carries on with her duties, but you can see that she's a bit feisty, and he's kind of shouting back at Jenkins almost, who's been very, very patient. And you kind of look around. You don't see or feel anything at this point.
Okay.
She's kind of pointed at where this figure had appeared from, and it was kind of right near the door where you'd all come in. The flour is kind of still spilt on the floor. She's kind of gathering up a pan and a brush, and is trying to sweep up now this flour that was kind of scattered on the floor in the bits of broken jar. And she's looking up at you, and she's saying, "It just startled me, sir. I dropped the jar. I didn't. It was just it was an accident.
It's understandable.
But he definitely. I saw the words, I saw the word.
Do you know what it means?
I have no idea, sir. I have no idea. I don't understand. I don't understand these people.
What was the word again?
It was UKUFA.
UKUFA.
Yes.
Probably. Well, I'm not there now, so.
Ukufa.
It's
Yes.
probably that chap's village.
Yeah.
It's a foreign name, isn't it?
Could be. Yeah. Yeah. You doing anything else, Matthews?
The only other thing is, as well as it's just looking around any the flowers got anywhere else. But I'm also still watching Jenkins of how he reacts to it all.
He's being, yeah, I mean, he's very patient with her. He's basically almost fatherly, and he's kind of just trying to calm her down. And it seems to be working. He's very good at this. He's got a very soothing kind of voice and personality, and he's trying to explain to her, don't you worry about it. I'll deal with this. And he kind of gets the dustpan and he starts sweeping things up.
Okay. I think I will, before I go, we'll ask Nesta.
Yeah.
How many times has this man appeared to you?
It's more than once, sir. But this time, I don't know.
This is the
I
first
just
time.
wasn't expecting it, and he was there.
When I saw the pointy stick, I thought he was going to do me harm, sir.
Yeah. And that's the first time you've seen the stick.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
You head upstairs, everybody else. Does Matthews, do you want to head up there afterwards, or are you...
Yeah, because they said the guy paid from the door, from inside the house, or was it to the outside?
It was inside the house, where you basically kind of came into the kitchen.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll probably just follow one up.
Sure. You've headed back up to the master bedroom. The Major has followed you. You're leading, Eckley. You push open the door, and yeah, on the right-hand side of the room there, kind of next to the screen, forget the privacy screen. You see this chest that you'd you'd barely paid any attention to before. This scuffed travel chest, and you take the key out of your pocket.
Yeah, and I wait, because these things need the gravitas and ceremony. We don't do these things on impulse, because we're gentlemen, and we wait and make sure that they have their proper timing. And so I hold the key up with a long pause.
Yeah.
Waiting.
And then and Henry's is the next person into the room.
I'm trying to slow them down so you can open the box. So we eventually come into the room.
Yeah, so you come into the room, and shortly thereafter, the Major and his wife enter the room also.
I don't know what it is you expect to find in there. Just some trophies, that's all.
I think we all need to be here to see it, yes?
What are you expecting to find?
Is Matthews come up the stairs at this point?
Yeah, I think, let's say Matthews arrives shortly thereafter, and you're all standing in this bedroom.
Well, shall I?
Albert. Yes.
And I
Have a look at these trophies.
take the key, and I don't answer the question that was asked. What am I expected to find? I push the crate into the middle of the room, and I stand facing everybody.
It's big and heavy chest.
Yeah, so I push it out from where it is, and I push it into the middle of the room, and I stand behind it, and I reach to the front and push the key in.
Yep.
And turn the key, and then stand as I pull the lid towards me with it all for everybody to see.
Okay. And yeah, there's this whole ceremony almost that Eckley is kind of performing here in front of you. And as the door, the lid to the chest kind of swings open, you see inside a long pointy stick, and also a strange oval-shaped shield, clearly tribal, and a book.
So, these are the things that have followed you. Physical, yes, the spear, and I reach in, push it onto the ground. And this shield, and I put it in front.
Yeah.
And also, your memory, your dreams, your ambitions in this book, yes?
It's my journal.
The Major whispers.
I pick it up and I hold it, and I pass it to him.
The Major.
I say, read me the last thing you wrote in that, please, sir.
He takes the journal from you. And he kind of flicks through.
Monday, 18th of November, 1901. Potchefstroom, Transvaal. Great happenings. After today's events, I've been told by JJB that he will put me in for DSO, no less. I'm getting ahead of myself again, though. The details, then. We have been continuing K's policy to deny the Boer guerrillas supplies. But I have found that whilst my company is capable of doing what must be done when it comes to the blacks, when it came to the Boers, they become reluctant. Time to lead from the front, I said to myself. I went out with a section from B Company and strode up to the door of a farmhouse and evicted the family. Unfortunately, I did need to shoot the farmer. The chap would not see sense. Also, if the lads were going to see the benefit of the exercise, I had to almost tell them what they should do with the wife. After this, the next farm was easier and I could sit back and watch. This was just the precursor, though. The main event was to come as we herded our interns back to the potch. It was getting dark, and what do you know, but suddenly we were set upon by those fierce Zulus with their spears and funny shields. They were no match for our modern weapons, and there were so many of them. Eventually, there were just a few of us still standing. The lads, though, did sterling work to protect me. And then suddenly one chap, he was wearing an elaborate headdress. Well, he seemed to take a distinct dislike of me personally and rushed me with his spear out. Well, shot him cleanly and he fell. And suddenly, the other black chaps took fright and scarpered. My blood was up at this point, and I was out of shells. And my sword had gotten stuck in one of those black fellows' ribcage, so I grabbed the chap's sticker and took chase. They were quick, so I only caught one of them, a smaller fellow whose hair was covered in beads. Very odd. Anyway, my new sticker made quick work of him, and he was expiring, and he did the most damnable unusual thing. He grabbed the spear point in one hand whilst I still held it. He stared up at me and began chanting some incomprehensible gibberish. The thing is, I would swear on the Bible that his eyes glowed bright red at this point. Madness! At any rate, the fellow soon left this world, and I regrouped the lads, and got the injured into a nearby blockhouse, and got the rest of the troops and the interns back to the town. JJB was most impressed in the story. This fellow is going places in this army, I tell you. P.S. The chap's sticker and shield, apparently they are called an Ikwa in Nguni in the local tongue. How quaint. Will be a suitable addition over the mantelpiece back in Holywell. I'll be sending them on ahead forthwith. Well, what of it?
Do you not think of the connection between that there stick and what was just described downstairs?
Well, the Nesta saw a man with a stick.
With a sharp end, yes.
Black man.
In a loincloth, which generally dictates to tribal.
Why would she see that when she's never been to Africa? Or the only person that's been to Africa.
The whole house seems to start shaking. You can hear cutlery rattling. There's a sudden warm kind of breeze. And then a ball rolls into the room from the doorway. You will see a small child appear at the door. Emaciated, skeletal. It looks up at you all. It says, Moda. Moda. From the corner of the room, the shadows seem to grow long. And stepping out from them, a woman. Also thin, skeletal. Has a distended belly as if she's expecting a child. She rushes towards the Major. You hear her saying the words, or mouthing the words, Hokum! Hokum, she says. And she rushes towards him and he screams. And as she approaches him, she kind of loses... she becomes insubstantial. And kind of wafts through him like smoke. And he yells as he sees this woman. A tall man wearing a hat and dark clothing, work clothes. Black blood spewing from his throat. Stands in the corner of the room. A black man wearing a loincloth, his hair full of beads, appears, standing next to you, Albert. He reaches down into the chest. Can you roll stability, please?
I did. Did I?
You did. You failed, yeah.
Oh.
No. And you've already rolled it, actually, Albert, don't you worry. Maxton seems completely nonplussed by all of this. But the rest of you, can you take 4 points of stability?
Letting me do it.
Oh, you've not rolled, Luther, have you?
No, it's not
No.
letting me do it.
I
It
won't
froze up.
Oh, okay. Let me roll it for you. How about that? Let's see if I can do it for you. Are you spending any points, or do you just want to roll a straight test? Oh, have we lost everyone? No? Is it just me? Do you want to roll, do you want to spend any points on your stability, Luther?
I think we're getting a bit of Discord lag.
Are we? I just make the roll. Are you there, Britt? You failed, Britt. Luther, you take 4 points of stability.
I'm on -1.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you are shaken. Yeah, you've basically got that whole kind of tunnel vision thing as you see these things appearing in this room. The man in the loincloth, he reaches down into the chest. He withdraws the spear. Oh.
I think it's catching up.
Yeah, I think so. He's failed on every attempt there as well, which is interesting. So you've lost 4 points of stability there, Luther. It drags the spear out of the chest. Are you doing anything, anybody?
So the ghost has got the spear.
Yeah.
I'm just going to move out of the way of the major.
Okay. Anybody else doing anything?
Well, I came in behind the major and his missus, so to be honest, I'm probably just aghast at this child that's probably I'm closest to. Seeing this child ghost again.
Yeah. You passed your stability roll.
I got a 2.
Oh, did you? Oh, you fell. That's 4 points of stability loss for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody that fails. So
I'm standing right next to it. I'd already taken the spear out and laid it against the chest, so the
you
thing
had,
reaches
and this
through
thing has reached down and
it.
grabbed that. Yeah.
And can I use a point of occult to try and communicate with this thing and tell him to be at peace? Can I use that? Is that enough to try and communicate with it and say, what is it you're here for? We need you to go now. You need to be at peace now.
Occult. You know what? Oh, you can say that if you like. I'm not going to get you to spend a point.
Okay. So I'm shaking. I'm just focused on this thing
Yeah.
right next to me, and I can't take my eyes off it, but my mouth can still move, and I'm just like, you must leave us. We are asking. We are imploring you. Find peace. Move to the next world.
I'll go. Albert, no.
And this man, he turns around. He has the spear in his hand. He looks straight at the major and he says, Ukufa. And then he strikes the major with the spear. Anybody doing anything?
I just saw somebody getting stabbed with a ghost holding a spear. I think I'm losing my shit right now. That's what I think I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna roll. Can I roll stability again? I feel like.
Yeah, you sure can if you wish. Yeah.
I really think that.
No, you have failed. Let's say. I mean, it might be another 4 points at this point of stability.
That's fine by me. -5.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. So you're basically you feel that you cannot do anything. You're just standing there watching as this thing plunges this spear into the major. You hear the scream from the major, and a blood spurts out. You see it covering his shirt. The Mrs. Walsh is screaming. You hear almost a sigh.
Are the ghosts still there?
Yeah, it's just a few moments later when things seem to become clear for you all. The major, he's lying face down on the floor. You can see blood is seeping out onto the floorboards.
Case solved.
Yeah, Mrs. Walsh, she looks down, and she screams. She screams, and then she just faints away. And Jenkins is standing at the doorway. You just hear it. My God.
Saw that, didn't you, Jenkins? Wasn't us. No, was not us.
Bless you. Bless you.
Well, that's a mood killer, isn't it?
Was that ghost?
I think it would be like you'd go and check on the major.
Sure, he's dead.
I can assume there's like so much blood. You could probably straight up assume that he is dead, but let's go and check on him.
Yeah.
Still alive. Attempt first aid.
Give him a kick.
You kind of crouch down. You check the major. Perhaps you check for a pulse or something. And I think our closing scene is Mr. Matthews as he kind of looks up at the rest of you and just shakes his head. And that's where we've finished this adventure.